You're inside the press box. Christian FM Sports presents Inside the Press Box, where we discuss all sports from our favorite high school team to college and pro. Here's your hosts, Paul Tipton and Gary Paris.
26-yarder. Snap is there, the hold, the kick is up!
It's good!
It's good! It's good! Vero Beach District champions beat Treasure Coast 10-7. Jesse Lewis, 26-yard field goal. How about that?
Unbelievable. I'm going to tell you, that thing fought its way to get over.
How about that? That was a fun game.
Well, that was a great call on your part.
What do you mean my part? How about your part?
Well, you got to know, I was watching the kick, and I was watching everything from the snap to the hold, then to the kick. And last time Jesse tried that attempt earlier in the game, he pushed one to the right, and it was like he takes a little stab kick instead of a follow-through kick. So I'm watching it, and I think the excitement was you probably should have muted me, and because I'm going, he made it. It wasn't that we won. It was that he made it,
yeah,
and I was
right?
excited for him and for the team. But you were able to. We're district champs. That's the most important thing that came out of that. But the enthusiasm, the whole game, Paul. Wow, it's one of the best games I think I've ever really enjoyed, because we were without Aronson at quarterback.
Yeah,
a lot of people thought we didn't have a chance to win that game.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. I had my doubts at times. I not that I didn't believe in Vero so much, is that could we stop the run game, and if we got behind, could we play catch up? And
well, and I don't disagree with you. I mean, look, when you have a talent like Tyler Aronson and he's not available, you kind of go, okay. And I don't mean that in any disrespect to anybody else in any way, shape, or form. But then you have E.J. White, who was going to be part of that quarterback package along with Whiteley that we knew going in. We were asked not to say anything ahead of time because Coach wanted to keep the game plan a secret, understandably so. And then on the opening kickoff, E.J. takes a shot and lands on his shoulder a particular way. And he comes in, he plays a couple of series, but he's hurt. And so on third down and long, here comes Whiteley in. And, number one, you're going to start in probably the biggest game of the, getting the call in the biggest game of the season. Then you're in a third down and long. That's when you come into play. I mean, I just got to tip my hat to Jake Whiteley right off the bat. I mean, what he did in this ball game to lead this Indians team ultimately to a victory was phenomenal.
Yeah, and this young man is very intelligent, very bright, but physically, he's 5'8" or 5'9", and weighs 135 pounds.
Yeah,
and you got to call it the way you see it, though, and you've got defensive linemen on the other side that are coming at you that weigh 280 pounds and 90 pounds and close to 300 pounds. Mm-hmm. And he stood in there and did I thought, a great job. And I take my hat off to him because, he created turnovers. Mm-hmm. I mean, those were things. He got sacked one time. The ball got stripped from him. And sometimes you ask your quarterback, look, you don't have to win the game for us, just don't lose the game for us. Yeah. We can win it if we don't have any turnovers and create, we can create a running game and situations where allow you to just get the ball out into this a safer call on passing and have a running game. And so you don't ask your quarterback to beat you. You ask him to just keep you in the game. And Jake did a good job of that. I mean, he did, but he had a couple costly turnovers that didn't hurt us, except I think one, we had a 46-yard run on one play.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, so the third possession, well, no, actually, technically, the second possession for Vero Beach in the game, there was basically a strip sack, if you will.
Yes.
Where Jake fumbles the ball and Treasure Coast recovers it, and that put them on the plus side of the 50, Treasure Coast at the 48. And then one play, and Davis goes off 48 yards for a score. Now, defense still has to do its job too. And so, while, the fumble put, Treasure Coast on a decent field position, Treasure Coast still executed its offense and found a nice gaping hole, and Davis was off to the races. And so, they get the early lead 7-0. Then what really compounds this, Gary, I think is that we come back with the next possession, and then it's an interception. So fumble gets them they get a score. We come back next possession, it's an interception, and you could almost start to sense like, we might be in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I go back to the fact that you say, don't beat me. Mm-hmm. Eliminate turnovers as much as you possibly can. So what do you have? You have two in back-to-back series, but the defense stepped up, Paul. That defense stepped up, and it allowed Jake to get into a rhythm of getting to understand the defense a lot better.
Yeah.
Gave him more looks. Every time they stopped him, Jake got a little better and better as the game went on.
He did. He did.
And that was the thing that I mean, yes, we were going to have E.J. White was going to be in certain series. He's going to be the wild Indian type of deal where you take the snap back and he runs or throws the ball. His athleticism, he's 6'3". He weighs 165 pounds or so, and he's fast. He's very fast. And he has a stronger arm than Jake does, and so he brings a different tool, a different scheme to the game.
Yeah.
And what we were told that would happen is that Coach had sets of plays for both of them.
Right.
So there would be times when Jake would run the series, and there would be times when we put the wild Indian in, being the be E.J. White.
Yeah. And then when his injury occurs there right at the very start of the game, well, Coach Jay's got to, figure out on the fly, okay, what are we going to do? Because that took a number of plays out of his book because he doesn't have his athlete in E.J. White. But give credit again, the defense. And again, let's go back to that series there, Gary. You got the fumble, Treasure Coast scores, come out the next possession, interception, and then that's where the defense really starts to find something, and they force the punt. And boy, was that a key moment in this ball game. We maybe didn't really fully realize it at the time, but man, what a key point that was to force that punt, because then Vero comes back on that drive and scores. They go 3 plays, and Jacobs gets the score. Yeah, and again, it's a great defensive stand, which they did the rest of the night. Mm-hmm. And again, Jake threw a beautiful pass to Jacobs out there, and Vondravius makes that fantastic catch. I mean, and again, Jake threw it to the only place that the only person who was going to catch that was going to be Dre. Yeah. And Dre makes a fantastic catch, and now we're knotted up 7-7. And then at that point, you say, okay, now this is when you and I were talking off the air one time. I said, boy, Jake cannot create any more turnovers. Yeah. He's got to keep us in the game with plays. Yeah. We've got to have some long drives, and hopefully we get a field goal opportunity or so. And the game went back and forth. We did miss a field goal. Yeah, so I mean, you go to the locker room at halftime. And again, you talk about that defense. So after we score and we tied it up at 7, then Treasure Coast puts together, I believe, somewhere around about an 8-play drive, maybe about a 9-play drive. They went for it on 4th down, and Vero Beach stopped them. Turnover on downs.
Huge.
That was big. The momentum was. I'm not going to say momentum swung to Vero, but it slowed down whatever momentum Treasure Coast had, because then Vero Beach comes back. They go 3-and-out with a punt, but then a couple of plays and we're at halftime. But going to that locker room tied at 7, I think mentally did something special for Vero Beach. I think if they were down even 7-0, Gary, I think they just kind of might not have had the same attitude coming out for the second half.
Well, without Aronson, the thing that you lack is the passing game ability to make comebacks.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake would have had to sit back in the pocket, and they would have thrown everything in the world at him. I mean, every blitz, everything they could to disrupt his timing and all. Mm-hmm. And that's what you were afraid that would happen if you fell behind, that it would be a tough night. But what Jake did do, though, he managed his game with a 0-0 like mentality, and every drive was going to be a winning drive for us. And Coach called a great game and protected Jake as much as he possibly could, gave him those little quick outs that, when the receivers, and Jake went down the field and did well and moved the ball up and back and forth. We did get down an opportunity to kick a field goal.
Yeah, we missed a field goal on our first possession of the second half. In the third quarter there, we missed a field goal. It was about a 26-yard attempt there by Lewis that just went wide right. And but the defense had already forced a turnover on downs by Treasure Coast. We come down, we miss a field goal, and then that's what the whole second half was all about. It was Treasure Coast taking a shot. Nope. Vero Beach taking a shot. Nope. And, you talked about, couldn't have any more turnovers, but we ended up one more interception. Really wasn't Jake's fault. He got hit from behind on the pass, and so did not see the blind side blitz coming his way. Got hit as he was trying to let it go. It floats up in the air. But still, again, defense, man, it really stepped up its game, forced Treasure Coast to have to punt the ball away. And good Lord, I mean, somebody needs to sign McIntyre as a punter, for the next level, because
he is going to the next level.
I know he's going to the next level
as a lineman,
but geez, could he punt the ball?
That was phenomenal punter. I mean, for a guy that's 6'3", 285 pounds, unbelievable kicks he got. I mean, they were 50, 45 yards.
Gary, you could just tell by the way, the sound and just the way it was coming off his foot. You knew from the moment he touched the ball, it was like, oh, this one's going 50.
Well, the funny thing is, you're right. It comes out waddling, like a like a wounded duck.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it took off like a spiral.
Yeah.
And it was like, I went, whoa, I've never seen that before in a kick. I don't know how he managed to do that. And it kept going back. Yeah. You had Woolard backing up to catch it, and his punting kept them in the game also, because a lot of times he flipped the field, or he made us deep enough where it'd be tough to get, have to a lot of plays to score.
Yeah, I mean, and again, if you had just what I would call an average punter, because he was definitely going well above average on his punts. I mean, Vero Beach would have had really good field position because the defense was just playing lights out.
And I'll tell you one thing is they had a hard time covering Jacobs. They really. I mean, he was open several times deep. And again, hey, young man's junior. He's only 5'9". He couldn't throw that 50-yard pass or that.
Couldn't throw it, and a lot of times he had pressure in his face.
Yeah.
And again, offensive line. I'm going to tell you something right now. I am seriously impressed with both sides of our lines in that game, because you and I both, we talked about this coming out of the Martin County game. In the trenches, we really did not perform well in the Martin County game, and we're going, wow, Treasure Coast is going to be better at this than Martin County is. We might be in real trouble here. But, man, did these guys come to play Friday.
I don't think they were prepared for Martin County the way they prepared
you might be right.
for this one mentally.
Yeah.
This team was a really, really good football team. And don't look at their record as they're 3-5. Look at it as like who they've played.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had our game was 10-7 overtime with them. Okay.
Yeah.
They've lost games 14-7, 14-13.
14-5 to Osceola.
Yes.
They lost, I think they lost.
Tampa Jesuit 14-13.
Yeah, they lost to St. Thomas by, I think, 21 points, but they were like real close at halftime. I think it was only like a 10-point deficit.
Yes. And so they played one of the hardest schedules in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, in the state of Florida. It was ranked, I think John Santucci said it was in the top 5 hardest schedules in the state of Florida. Maybe,
had to have been.
Maybe IMG or somebody else may have had a tougher schedule. But you look at that and you went, wow, boy, that is and it was such a great win. And it was like, wow, we just beat Treasure Coast, and we had not beat them. This is the first time in 3 years that we've beaten them.
Right.
And so the place was going crazy. The fans loved it.
Gary was going crazy.
I was going crazy because I really wanted us to win. And I like Jake. I coach with Jake and I like him, Jake Whiteley.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has his strengths and he has his weaknesses like every quarterback has. I'm going to tell you right now, that young man probably is the second most knowledgeable person about our offense.
Oh, yeah.
The first being Lenny Jankowski.
Mm-hmm.
This young man looks at film, studies it, and can really read, and that helps him when he gets out there.
Well, does.
He was putting guys in place really well for a junior. He was pointing to guys, you get over here, come, get down, like that. Yeah. He was in command of the game and mentally. But they put a lot of pressure on. They came at him at times. And you know what he did well? He did really, really well at times when he was passing. He stepped up in the box.
Yeah,
that line did a great job of protecting for him. Mm-hmm. The one time he got the strip sack, he just was about to move up, and he had the ball back. He was going to throw it, and he was about to move up when the ball got stripped from behind. And but other than that, his command for the game was excellent. I thought he gave us a chance to win, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, so we go to, into regulation. We're still tied. We go to overtime. I'm trying to remember the last time we've actually played an overtime game. It has been a while. It might have been Treasure Coast. Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Treasure Coast, a couple of years.
Yeah. So we end up in the overtime, and, the Kansas City tiebreaker type of deal. And in high school, you line up at the 10, you got 4 downs. What are you going to do with them? You get a touchdown, go for a field goal. What are you going to do? And, again, the defense, Treasure Coast won the toss. They elected to go first. I thought that was a little surprising.
I did, too, because normally you would take defense.
Right.
And then hold them, and then you can kick the field goal. And so.
Yeah, so I was a little surprised by that they went offense first. But, again, defense really stood up and, forced them to try a field goal, and it hits the upright. Almost goes in, but it stays out.
Well, the only reason we knew it hit the upright was the pole was moving.
Yeah, right.
It bounced back and forth, and we couldn't hear the big dong, but we saw the pole rattle and we saw the ball bounce back.
And you see the reaction of the players more than anything else.
Yes. Yeah. And again, on third down, they're 3rd and 2. They were 3rd and 2 yards out on that play.
Yeah, well, they're on the 2. Yeah, third and goal. Yeah.
3rd and goal, and we stopped them right there.
Yeah.
Stopped them right there. And they didn't want to take a chance. They thought they could get 3 points up, and they may have a shot to win.
Let me throw some numbers at you here. Defensively, Bucky Rojas, 13 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss and a sack. Keyshawn Campbell, 9 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss. Elijah Anderson had 6 tackles. Kevin Pollock had some big plays in that game. And Gary, you talked a lot about this. So much more about the X's and O's. When you're dealing with a run offensive team, it's the linebackers who really have to make the plays.
And guess who did?
And guess who made the plays?
I mean, you read those names out. You have Rojas, Pollock, Campbell, and Xbox from safety.
Yeah.
Anderson coming up from that safety.
Yeah.
I think he maybe had more than 6 tackles at times, but I think he had a lot of assisted tackles in there too.
Mm-hmm.
He ran and he read the ball really quick. Now, one time they got beat, and we were very fortunate. They didn't get back on a pass play.
And that's another thing that we talked about. You know, a lot of people say, well, man, I was at a golf tournament on Saturday and, Vero got lucky. And I said, well, that's part of it too, I mean, you get breaks. You look at any big game from the Super Bowl to a college championship or whatever. I mean, you're always going to say, oh, yeah, boy, they got some breaks there along the way. That's part of the game.
That's part of it. You're right. I mean, we had our share. What about our fumbles?
Right.
What about our interceptions?
Right. Those were breaks for them.
Those were breaks for them. That's 3 extra possessions that they got.
Right.
That we had to give up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they dropped one, but you know what? I've seen a lot of passes dropped in my lifetime as a broadcaster, as a player, as a coach. So, I mean, that's all part of the game. You miss a block, and the quarterback gets hit. That's just like dropping a pass when he fumbles and returns it. So yes, that's all part of the game. You got to look at the whole game.
Totally.
And that was one of the most exciting games I've had the privilege of ever working in high school with you about, because it was such a game. We all had our question marks about, could we win?
Sure.
Could we win?
Yeah.
And how would we win?
Right.
That was my biggest question, was how would we win? Can we get the ball to Vondravius? Well, yeah, we got the ball to him 7 times for 140 yards and 1 touchdown. That's a pretty good way of getting it to him, and that was all Jake right there on doing that.
And, Gary, we really had a good balance. I mean, it wasn't just about Jacobs. Woolard got some catches in there, and Gwynn got a catch. Smith got a catch. Then the run game. I mean, while it was not spectacular numbers, they were solid. I mean, he ended up with 68 yards overall of ground game. That's pretty good. Yeah,
I really, and Quincy had 15 carries for 68 yards. Now that says, you go, wow, that's only what, not even 5 yards a carry. But still, it was a first down 3 times if you look at it.
Right.
So, I mean, it was enough to allow your passing game to be effective. And that's what was the most important thing. And that's what the management between Lenny Jankowski and Jake Whiteley, how it was, between the two of them, the management of the game.
How funny is it that it all comes down to a field goal try? Something that Vero Beach really hadn't done all season. I don't know we even made one, hadn't we? We hadn't tried one.
Oh, we hadn't
even tried one until that third quarter where we tried the first field goal. That was the first time we had tried one all season.
And were you surprised that
I was a little surprised that, so we stopped Treasure Coast essentially in the first overtime period there, and then Vero Beach gets the ball. Okay. Coach Jay wasted no time. He brought the field goal unit right out on first down. Now, some thoughts would be, well, just in case if there's a bad snap or whatever, you can fall on it. You got time, well, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You've got an opportunity to try it again if you want to. I do, you can play the what if game all day long on this. Ultimately, we made the field goal. We won the game. And was it the right call in that moment? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think going back to what, in Coach's mind too, and again, you and I haven't talked to him yet. And one of the things that I thought was that I just don't want to get into a overtime slugfest with.
Well, and I think that's exactly what Coach Jay was thinking.
Because they can 10 yards, they can run the ball really, really good. We stopped them.
Right.
But you know what I mean? And then we had a chance to come back and do it. And I think Lenny said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not. We got away with it. We did it our first time. Could we do it a second time? Not sure. But I know one thing. If he kicks the field goal, we won.
Well, I thought he brought up a great point, which was I saw a quote in TZ Palm after the game from him, and that was, we were sitting there in the center of the field. Not a better opportunity to try to kick a field goal than sitting right there in the center of the field, and he's right. You're not sitting on one of the hash marks trying to angle a kick in. You're right there dead center.
It was an exciting moment. We held our breath, and finally it wasn't that. What I laugh at me was that it wasn't like, we won. I won. He made it. He made it. That was our first successful field goal.
And that young man, I mean, Jesse Lewis, I mean, he's, again, I mean, how nerve-wracking is that got to be? I mean, it's one thing, we talked about this even in the broadcast, like, well, he's been out there, he's been booting 40-yarders and, but those are just warm-ups. Nobody's rushing at you. Nobody's really snapping the ball or anything like that. It's up on a tee, and, you can just go walk up, leisurely kick it, and you're not thinking about it. It's kind of like that, for all you golfers out there. It's like being on the range, and you're like going, whew, man, I can draw it, I can fade it, I can hit it high, hit it low or whatever. Then you get on in that first tee, and you go, and it goes right off in the woods. You go, man, what happened? Pressure.
Paul, one of the things it was no different than kicking an extra point.
No, it wasn't.
And how many extra points has he made this year? He's made 31 or 2 extra points out of maybe 38 attempts this year. So it wasn't like he couldn't do it.
No, no.
But the question would be his confidence.
Totally.
How would he, because you're thinking, this is on me. The extra point,
Well, yeah. I mean, you think extra points, like, well, the team just scored. Everybody's happy about that. They're not really thinking about this extra point until it comes down to, like, if it's a 1-point loss, then they think about that extra point, But, in that moment, the game is all on the line. You really haven't kicked a field goal. I mean, to come out off the sideline for a field goal, to come out there, and while the yardage is the same as basically an extra point, it's still that whole scenario, man. It's like, wow. I mean, and the fact that Coach Jay didn't even waste any time after that missed opportunity in the third quarter, it was like, nope, let's get out there and get it. That says a lot of credit about Coach Jankowski and giving the nod to Jesse Lewis to go out there and try to win this thing.
Well, he's one of the, I guess, one of the smartest offensive coordinators, and probably is a CEO of a program in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, you are the CEO. Everything is structured. Everything is done. His coaching staff have assignments on game day, and you'll see that each one of them has a position he has to be at, they all have their assignments, whether it's uniforms, whether it's walking over, whether it's staying behind. I mean, there's a list of everything that they do. And it reminds me, he's the chief executive officer and the head coach of his program, why I guess he wins a lot of games.
Yeah, no, and in the end, he made the right call. Obviously, he got the result he was looking for, and we get a win. So what does that mean now? Well, Vero Beach, number one, you're the district champ of District 12. In the bracket situation, we were already sitting at the number 1 seed based off of our power rankings. This pretty much solidifies that number 1 seed right now for Vero Beach. Now, there's still some possibilities just because there's some unknowns. There's some things about the formula, how Max Preps puts it all together that, well, I don't know. I want to leave just a little bit of room because Osceola is close to us in the power rankings. Could they overtake Vero Beach? I don't think so, but you never know.
Well, it's like a secret ingredients to making a cake or something.
Yeah.
They have over there. Max Preps won't tell us what their secret ingredients are.
Right.
The state likes it because they've okayed it.
Right.
And so, because they're in partnership with each other. Mm-hmm. So we don't know what the secret ingredient is until we get to next Sunday. We won't even know it then. We'll just know who we're playing.
Right. So here's where things kind of stand right now. So Vero Beach, we'll just say, is at number 1. Osceola is at number 2. Martin County has a real shot to be at number 3 right now. Possibly, I don't know, Melbourne is real close right there too. They may go back up to the 3rd seed and Martin County goes to 4, somewhere in there. Then after that, that's where it starts to get a little tricky because Treasure Coast losing, that's going to bump them down a little bit, and they've got a really tough ball game coming up. Don't know if they can win it or not. I wish the best for them. I really do. I like Coach Jones and that program, and I want to see them, if they can beat Chaminade Madonna, I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, but I don't want to play them again.
I don't want to play them again, but look, if it comes down to it,
but
you're going to have to play.
You got to play once. If you want
to win the state, you got to play the best teams anyway.
It's funny. We've done that before. We've played them.
Yeah, we have.
Well, we've played them again.
We have, and who knows? But so right now, those are so you got Vero, Osceola, Martin County, and Melbourne pretty much locked in on the playoff bracket right there, 1 through 4.
But the home team is the district champs.
In that first round, that was something that we learned on Friday, was that in the first round, a district champ does have the home field advantage. But for Vero Beach, in its case, it's number 1 in the playoff bracket. It's the district champ. So
if you win,
we've solidified. Yeah, we have, in essence, what we've done, and with that win against Treasure Coast, we have solidified home field advantage as long as we're in the playoffs.
Yep, that's the way I look at it too.
Yeah,
that's the way without knowing the secret ingredients.
Right.
And I trust you and Lenny, because both of you and John Santucci who fed us a lot of good information.
Here's what we do know. Once you're past the first round, the RPI is the deciding factor.
Yes.
And Vero Beach, if they're the number 1 seed in the bracket, which we anticipate that's going to be the case, then they will have the highest RPI in their region. So we're region number 3. Now, let's just say, just for the sake of chat here, that we get all the way through the region.
Which is 3 games. Three games in the region.
Right. And we're now looking at playing the Final 4 or the state semifinals. Okay, we don't know yet which region would play each other. They have not determined that yet. So, and what I believe, if I understand the rules right, and of course there's a lot of little clauses in here, so I could be wrong on this, but I believe that the RPI will determine home field on that. So,
I think you're right.
So let's just say if we're representing Region 3, if we end up playing Region 1 and we have the higher RPI, we would host Region 1 here. Same thing for 2 or 4. Any of those other regions, we would definitely have that home field. Now, when it gets to if we make it all the way to the finals, that's already going to be determined at a neutral field, and it's in Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
So that's the deal. So the other part of that bracket, so you got 5 through 8. That's still going to be some interesting observations this week. You've got some games this week, including Tuesday night. There's some district games that have to be finalized by Tuesday night, and that really could determine if some teams are in or out in this playoff bracket. So DeLand, who's up in the, I believe it's District 9, I think, is got to play another district game on Tuesday night. If that team, Spruce Creek, wins that game, they win the district title, that's really their only shot to get into the playoffs. So that could put an extra team that's not currently in that bracket into the bracket, which means somebody gets pushed out.
Exactly. And and again, I know that you've been in communication with Coach Jay, because he may want to be at that game Tuesday night to scout.
Right.
You know what I mean? There may be some of the coaches go up to that game to scout.
Yep.
And so it may put our Tuesday night corner in jeopardy of maybe either doing it earlier or doing it on Wednesday.
Right, yeah. We may not actually get the chance to do it live. What we may do is we may just record it and then post it on YouTube. Just because of the fact that, with schedules right now, Coach really wants an opportunity to go scout some teams because they have a bye week this week. So they've got an opportunity to maybe go see some games otherwise. So, yeah, we'll figure out that schedule. Of course, you can always just get the alerts through our Vero Nation Network YouTube channel as always, and we'll try to keep you updated on our social media outlets as well. Well, GP, we got a week off, at least from high school football. You still got to go travel to Memphis, right?
Yeah. What a great weekend for me. Vero Beach beats Martin County. UCF beats number 20 ranked Cincinnati at home.
Miami beats Virginia.
Yeah, in Miami in
Four
the
overtimes.
weirdest game in 4 overtimes. Oh, take time to go read that
Oh,
one,
my
folks.
gosh.
Take time to read that.
That's a terrible podcast in and of itself. Yeah.
Yeah, and Florida State won for me, so it was a great weekend.
Dolphins won.
And the Dolphins won.
Niners won.
Yeah, our two. There you go. The stars lined up in the right way. So, but it's going to be a good week off for Vero Beach.
Yeah.
Because at this time of the year, folks, everybody is banged up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care whether you started and played or you're on backup or whatever. Everybody has one of these little nagging injuries that you get a chance to heal and get a chance to rest your body and to get a chance to prepare yourself. Who are you going to play now? Now, you don't know. You just go out and run your offense. And the defense is the one that I feel bad for, Paul, because they don't know what offense they're going to be up against.
Well, you know what? At this point, they've seen it all.
Yeah, they have. You're right. They've seen the single wing.
Yep.
They've seen the spread. You're right. There's not much these coaches haven't seen.
I think they'll be prepared. No doubt in my mind about that. So, all right, folks. Well, we are going to enjoy the week off on a Friday night, and I hope you can do the same. And I look forward to catching up with you again next week, at least with our podcast. Coach's Corner will always be available on YouTube. We do plan to do not only this week, but next week as well, as we get set for our playoff game in a couple of weeks. You've been listening Inside the Press Box, along with Gary Pierce. I'm Paul Tipton. As always, go Indians.
Thanks for joining us inside the Press Box. For more, go to ChristianFM.com.